Beep, 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 beep. Morning. Welcome. Oh, bugger. Welcome to the court of the EDI jester. It's like a man trying to give up smoking. Right. I'm going to get it right. Okay, so how are we? I hope you're all good. Okay, so become a warrior teacher. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm going to put a ticker on it. When I get done with my office and I'm finally sorted, I'm going to get a ticker just as for sake of subscribe and do things. Deadline. You ever heard of Deadline? Deadline have been around a long time, I think. You know, they're an American website, but they're also news people and all the stuff that comes with it. But I'm sure they've been around a long time. And they've introduced a document, an article that tells us that the Associated Press Style Guide updates gender terminology, suggesting avoiding biological sex. It's all becoming so predictable now, and it's in the Dubris, right? So they've got this article in the Dubris, right? Okay, and then you've got some comments on the article, which I thought were quite fun. So let's go through this. It's only short. I always say that, don't I? Right, the Associated Press Style Guide, which sets the agenda for how most major media uses words and phrases in reporting, thus shaping society's views, has come out with new guidelines on gender. This is the 3rd of this month, right? So this is this year, the 3rd, okay? Tossers, right? The AP now instructs journalists to respect LGBTQ, hands, knees and bumps and daisy subjects, preferred pronouns, and to avoid terms like biological sex. The new guide also suggested avoiding phrases like both sexes, indicating there are more than two that people use. There are two. That's it. What's wrong with these people? They're mental, aren't they? Journalists should also avoid referring to a trans person as being born a boy or a girl with sex assigned at birth than their new preferred usage. I mean, this is the total eradication of sex as a concept. The very anchor, the very foundation of our understanding of who we are. They're attempting to insert gender identity above all that, and therefore we need to all become worshippers of the gender identity god and kneel down at that god's altar. Right? That's what it is. Okay? The AP Style Guide update was headlined Transgender Coverage Topical Guide. The guide began with some general advice, stating gender terminology is vast and constantly evolving. A style guide can't cover everything. Let your sources guide you on how they want to be identified, and then use your judgment to be both sensitive and accurate. You can't see? Don't be kind and be accurate about their lived experience, which of course is just opinion. Somebody asked yesterday online, it said, what can you define lived experience? And I said, certainly. I said, it's when you're halfway through a madras at 1 a.m. in the morning, having downed 15 tequilas, and you shit yourself. Most people have been there. That's lived experience. What lived experience actually is when your opinion is seen to be something more than just that, an opinion, and it hasn't been washed through the marketplace of ideas. But you want people to accept it as your truth. Yeah, this crap needs to stop. So that was Deadline just going, here it is, have it, this is what's going on. What do you reckon, right? What's your thinking? What's your thinking on this? Then we have some comments from the good public of America. Anonymous said, geez, I wonder why nobody makes any money. Don't do that, Barry. Don't know why I did that. My apologies to the USA, all of it. Geez, I wonder why nobody makes any money in Hollywood anymore, focused on this instead of the content. Never a truer word. Little Mermaid, anyone? I'm an ambulance man, says Ambuthay. Ambuthay. I'm an ambulance man. My pronouns are wee-woo. Wee-woo, wee-woo. I love it, it's great. Anonymous again said, biological sex and gender identification are not the same thing. And sometimes noting a subject's biological sex with their consent is integral to telling their story. Now you have to give people consent to mention their biological sex. You can fuck off. Right? No, not doing it. I'm going to say what I see. Right? It's quite extraordinary, but this is, what people are saying. And then Acme says, now do they as a singular pronoun. Anonymous once again says, biological sex and gender, because this shit never signalled society is going to collapse before. Dark Ages, Rome, French Revolution, etc. gee, I wonder what's going to happen. It is, strangely enough, gender becomes a thing before the collapse of a civilization. I think it's Camille Paglia does something on this, I think. I can't remember where. If I can ever find it, I'll point you in the direction of it. But you probably go find it if you go and have a look. She talks about it. She says gender becomes an issue, androgyny becomes a thing before the collapse of a civilization. It's almost as if civilization is built on the fact that there are men and women in it. Gosh, the shock, the horror that might be true. Actually, the building of a successful civilization requires both of us, of all sexes, i.e. two, to work together. And then Sarcastic Kitten, I love that idea, says, I had no idea the AP style guide existed then, let alone was partially responsible for all of the Rome. Crazy that they aren't teaching that in schools. Yeah, they should be teaching schools how dangerous this stuff is. I've said this a dozen times before. But it's extraordinary, isn't it, that publishing news is now to be given edicts that come from the Church of the Gender Cult, and which are visited upon journalists who should, in my mind, be able to freely do what the hell they want, because that's what journalism is all about. It's about finding the truth. If you've ever seen the film Spotlight, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you've seen All the President's Men, you'll know what I'm talking about. Anything where they try to uncover something, journalists doing what journalists do best, this wonderful ability to dig deeply until you find what you need, and then to bring the truth to the public. This kind of thing is going to start appearing everywhere else. We're seeing it in, they want people to sign up to various things where they say they'll say these things. This is what's called forced speech, and it needs to be made specifically a crime in this country. It needs to be made specifically a crime to enforce someone's speech. And I mean a crime. I don't mean an addendum to the Equality Act. I mean a forced speech in the workplace or anywhere else should be a crime. Okay? Where that forced speech requires somebody to go against their belief. Why not? People go, yeah, but then people can call gays fags and get away with it. Well, so what? So what? Been doing it for years. It's not going to stop. They're doing it still. Kids still do it in the playground. You're so gay. It's never going to stop. And you're living in cloud cuckoo land if you think we can legislate it out of existence. You can't legislate it out of existence. Reality helps it stop. People who don't like gay people tend to find that suddenly starts to dilute when they meet a few. But currently, with what's going on with this nonsense, everybody thinks that gay men are drag queens or that they want to get at the kids. And the tragedy is that when the backlash gets worse, it's already started. There's no doubt it started. They're burning trans flags in America. There's no doubt it started. When the backlash gets worse, all the queer and trans blue-haired twats and their allies will just disappear. And they'll be left with the old guys sat there having their beer, hoping that nobody's going to hurt them, as it ever was, up until a few years ago. It's extraordinary to me because the bigger part of my life was the fact that we were always picked on and hated. The fact that we weren't picked on and hated for a few years is the smaller part of my life. But we got to the point where we had acceptance and then we went crazy. And that's what happens when people go crazy and you believe in things like gender identity, ideology, queer theory, or for that matter, critical race theory. So you need to have some thinking about this. Why are the press doing it? Who's running this agenda? Ooh. Go and have a look. Try and find out for yourself, because it's something that's interesting and worth doing. See what you think this is being pushed so much and why it is that our government is so inept at stopping it. I'll see you later.